Dubai is usually about luxury, money, and excess, but there's a side of it no one really talks about. While I was digging into this, I caught myself thinking, maybe I should have stopped. Maybe I shouldn't have looked this deep. Because behind the skyscrapers, the private parties, and all that money, there are things that are actually happening. Real cases. So yeah, this is the side of Dubai they don't want you to see. On March 19th, 2025, on a lightly traveled road in Dubai, a Ukrainian woman is found lying on the asphalt. Her body is covered in feces. Her spine is broken. Her arms and legs are fractured, and she is unconscious. On the edge of shock, that woman is Maria Kovalchuk, who had been missing for days without anyone being able to find her. But how does a Ukrainian woman end up in these conditions in Dubai? She was a 20-year-old woman who had turned her body and her camera into her main source of income. She was a model on the Blue Page and made a living selling intimate photos and videos to strangers all over the world, and to a certain extent, it was working. Thanks to this, she had become known on social media, and like any attractive woman with followers, she received hundreds of messages every day from admirers, men who offered her the moon if she would just go out with them. Obviously, most of it was lies, but there was one who was serious, a man willing to give her anything as long as she fulfilled his fantasy. Maria had been building her brand online for some time. Her OnlyFans page wasn't an experiment or a hobby, it was her job. She would turn on the camera, set up the lighting however she could, take care of her makeup, choose her clothes, or the lack of them, and record content for her subscribers. Maria was very clear about what she wanted: a beautiful life. Travel, luxury, clothes, and photos in expensive places. They say the ends justify the means, so selling intimate content was the perfect shortcut to get there. And Maria was willing to do anything to reach her goal. And when I say anything, I mean things you wouldn't even imagine. If you're at a point in your life where you're willing to sell your intimacy for a few dollars, you're capable of doing things that not many people would. At the beginning of 2025, Maria started receiving messages from a man in Dubai offering her tens of thousands of dollars just to go out with him. Obviously, this wasn't something common, so Maria didn't give it much importance. She didn't know the man was serious. Over time, that mysterious man stopped writing, and instead she began receiving messages from a supposed modeling agency. They claimed to work with brands in Dubai and promised her professional photo sessions, collaborations with well-known photographers, and access to an exclusive circle where, according to them, models who behaved well made a lot of money. Maria wasn't stupid. She knew her job wouldn't be just modeling. There was something behind it, and she didn't care. She was blinded by her goal. At first, she said she wasn't accepting the job at the moment, but the supposed agency slowly started sweet-talking her. Trips, luxury hotels, designer clothes, expensive restaurants, and more. All of it without her spending a single cent. The life Maria had always dreamed of could become reality just by accepting the agency's proposal. In the end, she accepted. She discovered that the mysterious man who had written to her months earlier was actually the owner of the supposed agency. And for some reason, that gave her confidence. She told her mother, said everything would be fine, and boarded a plane straight to the Emirate of Luxury. When she arrived, she was accommodated in a private villa. She was literally living the life of her dreams, just for accepting the proposal of a stranger. It was one of the happiest days of Maria's life. At first, everything was normal. Photos, outings with very wealthy men, dinners, messages like, "I'll pick you up tomorrow," and that strange feeling that she wasn't really a model as she thought, but entertainment for someone else. Maria wasn't stupid. She knew she wouldn't only play the role of a model in Dubai, and she was fine with that. She would do whatever it took to achieve her dream. It's not like they were paying her for sex, nothing like that. Up to that point, her job was to be a kind of escort, meaning to attend parties and accompany very wealthy men to luxury dinners. But on March 9th, 2025, everything changed. While talking to her mother on the phone, she mentioned that she was going to a super luxurious party and would spend the night with two men she had met there in Dubai. Her mother wasn't worried. It wasn't the first time her daughter had said something like this. Besides, those parties are famous among content creators. Many come back saying it was the best night of their lives, that they made contacts and were treated like queens. But others never say anything, not because they experienced something different, but because not everyone processes it the same way. There are girls who go to those parties and come back completely broken. What really happens there is hell, just that some accept the degradation as part of the deal, normalize it, and turn it into money. These parties are called porta potty parties. clandestine gatherings where women are exposed to the worst in exchange for money to satisfy the most powerful men in Dubai. Maria partly knew that shady things happened at those parties, but she wasn't aware of the torture she was about to face or the hell she was about to enter. After the conversation with her mother, Maria stopped giving signs of life for several days. At first, the family wasn't alarmed. It was on March 11th, 2 days later, when they noticed that she hadn't boarded a flight she had planned to take to Thailand. Nobody knew anything about her, and it would stay that way until March 19th. That night, a driver traveling along a little used road on the outskirts of Dubai saw something lying on the shoulder. At first, he thought it was trash or an animal, but when he got closer, he realized it was a woman. Maria Kovalchuk was unconscious, covered in feces, with her limbs completely broken and barely breathing. She had no phone, no documents, nothing to explain how she ended up there. She was wearing only a hotel robe, dirty and torn. The scene was horrifying. A young woman covered in feces, completely injured. When paramedics and police arrived, it immediately became clear that it was a critical case. And thanks to the flight to Thailand she never boarded, Maria appeared as a missing person in Dubai's migration records. This allowed authorities to identify her based on her physical characteristics, notify the Ukrainian embassy, and through them, finally inform her family. 10 days missing, 10 days without answers. And now she reappears like this, broken, abandoned, and on the brink of death in a country she didn't know. There was no official explanation. There was no suspect detained. Nothing was clear. The worst part is that Maria couldn't even tell what she had been through. Her body was so destroyed that doctors had to induce a coma while trying to stabilize her. After days of surgeries, tubes, and machines, she finally opened her eyes. She was still trapped in forced silence. She couldn't speak. She couldn't move properly. She couldn't explain anything. Her brain was in such bad condition that she was just there, aware of the pain, but without a voice to say what had been done to her. After all that, the logical thing would have been for Dubai authorities to clarify what happened. Again, 10 days missing. Injuries that couldn't have been caused by a simple fall, as they claimed. And yet, the police statement was that Maria was drunk and fell from an abandoned building, dragging herself to the road. But how do you explain the feces? How do you explain everything else? A foreign model abandoned on the side of a road wearing a hotel robe. Any police force in the world would have had to explain at least the basics. But in Dubai, laws work differently. Authorities gave a single version.
Maria entered the restricted construction area alone and fell from a height.
Period. There were no details, no expanded report, not even an explanation of how they reached that conclusion. Not a single uncomfortable question was answered. How did she get there? Why was she covered in human feces? Who left her alive on a deserted road? Nobody knew, and authorities didn't seem to care about finding out. For the family, the explanation wasn't enough. It was an insult. That institutional silence became part of the mystery. Dubai, a city full of cameras, private security, constant surveillance, and absolute control, suddenly knew nothing, and for some unexplained reason didn't seem to want to know either. But what really happened to Maria? For years, on private networks and closed forums, different escort models and content creators have shared extremely disturbing stories about these kinds of parties in Dubai. They don't talk about elegant gatherings, glamour, or luxury. They talk about power dynamics disguised as VIP events, where women are placed in humiliating situations for a few dollars. In those testimonies, many girls describe the same thing. They arrive excited by promised payments of up to $50,000 for a single night, where they do whatever they're told. What they don't know is that once they arrive at the party, their phones are taken away. They're told they can't record or leave. They're subtly informed that they don't make the rules there, that they should just go along with it and enjoy. Some talk about extremely disgusting fetishes, like being forced to eat specific food and being told to defecate on the men, then having sex while covered in feces, or simply being made to eat feces while the degenerates watch and pleasure themselves. And on top of what you can already imagine, orgies, extremely violent sex to the point of nearly killing some women during the act, and more. Well, things I won't continue to explain because YouTube could remove the video. What these men were really looking for was total submission. They weren't interested in anything else but obedience. They want to see how far a person can go when money erases dignity. And many girls, dazzled by the amount of money, accept everything they're asked to do. Some even say they do it voluntarily, that they tolerate it or justify it because of the payment. That for $50,000, $100,000 or more, they accept things they would never mention publicly. That as long as no one finds out, as long as there are no cameras, as long as the money arrives, it doesn't matter what happens inside. For some, it's a business. For others, a kind of unspoken pact. You pay, I stay silent, and we all pretend nothing happened. With this pattern repeated over and over, it's impossible not to wonder what Maria went through during those days she was missing. She left trusting, accompanied by two men who promised opportunities, contacts, and a high-level party. What follows is a void. It's entirely possible that, like many others, she found herself trapped in a room where the game turned dangerous very quickly. Maybe Maria tried to resist. Maybe she said no. Maybe what was asked of her that night crossed a line she wasn't willing to cross. And when that happens, according to testimonies, the party becomes a problem. And problems in those environments are solved quickly and silently. But again, all of this is speculation. Continuing with Maria, already in the hospital, she underwent several emergency surgeries to stabilize her spine, fix her limbs, and control internal damage. During those first days, Maria couldn't speak. She remained intubated, sedated, drifting between unconsciousness and lucidity. The damage wasn't only to her bones, but also to her brain. Maria had to learn how to walk again. For months, her main means of movement was a wheelchair. She moved with difficulty, got tired quickly, and every step was a physical reminder of what happened in Dubai. Doctors spoke of life-changing injuries, neurologically memory gaps about the attack, the need to relearn basic movements, and difficulty speaking were clear signs of a very serious traumatic brain injury. On top of all this, there was another visible consequence: her head. In addition to broken bones, Maria suffered a brutal injury to her scalp. Apparently, they also tried to tear it off. Yeah, you heard that right. Maria had a wound on her forehead that extended into her scalp, as if it had been cut in an attempt to violently rip it off. Over time, Maria was transferred to Norway with her mother, and that's where her longest and quietest stage began. Rehabilitation, physical therapy to move her legs again, daily exercises to regain strength in her arms and back, constant medical sessions to manage chronic pain in her spine and limbs. They literally destroyed her body in the worst possible way. In several interviews, Maria says she felt like a broken doll. For a long time, she thought she would never be able to walk independently again or live anything close to a normal life. And then there's the psychological side: anxiety, constant fear, panic attacks, and the feeling that she still hasn't fully left that hotel room in Dubai. To this day, she alternates between a wheelchair and crutches, relearning how to walk, with one leg still healing, her spine fixed with implants, a large scar on her head, a disfigured face, and a life completely different from the one she had before boarding that plane to Dubai. She survived, yep, but the price was being marked forever, on the inside. And well, that's it for today's video. Thank you for staying until the end. If there's a topic you'd like me to talk about, leave it in the comments. The comment with the most likes gets the next video. See you next time.